Hello students, I am here with a video on capacitor. So let's first define capacitors. That what is a capacitor? Okay, so a capacitor is a device which stores electrical energy. Okay, and that electrical energy is stored in the form of electric field. That means a capacitor is a device which stores electrical energy, and that electrical energy is stored in the form of electric field. Now, so the question rises, why do we need to store electrical energy? Okay, so let me explain this with an example. We all save money in the banks just for the emergency purposes, and whenever we need that money we take it and we use it. Similarly, a capacitor is just like a bank of electric energy. So whenever we requires a large amount of electrical energy for some purpose, this device gives that energy and we use it for our purposes. So where do we use capacitors? So generally we use capacitors in fan, the condenser we are using, it is a capacitor. And in motors, in driving the motors, the capacitors are used. So what happen when we switch on the supply? First the capacitor or the condenser attached to the motor get charged, and when the capacitor gets fully charged, that means now it stored energy. Now the capacitor throws that whole energy to the motor, and that drives the motor. So hence we use capacitors for driving the motors. There are many other applications of the capacitors also. So now you got some hint that what is basically a capacitor is and why do we use it. Okay, so a capacitor is a device which stores electrical energy. Okay, now moving ahead, if we see that electrical energy is stored in a capacitor in the form of electric field. Now, so from where does this electric field come? We all know that electric field is the energy. Okay, electric field is a form of energy. So from where the electric field come? Of course, an electric field can only come when there is some charge. So what do we say? In order to store energy in a capacitor, we charge it, we give it charge, and when it stores the charge, automatically stores the electric field. Okay, now so what are the types of capacitors? Okay, now before going to the types of capacitor, let me show you some practical capacitors which we use in our daily life. So these are some of the images of the capacitors that we are using in our electrical circuits or for the electrical purposes. So here you can see that this is the condenser you use. Okay, so these are other form of condensers or capacitors which you can see in the electrical circuits. Okay, so these are the capacitors. Now coming to the types of capacitors, that means how many types of capacitors are there. So generally basically there are three type of capacitors. One is parallel plate capacitor, another is the spherical capacitor, and the third one is the cylindrical capacitor. So in our syllabus only parallel plate capacitors are there, so we have to study only the parallel plate capacitors. Spherical and cylindrical capacitors are not in our syllabus, so we are not going to discuss them. Now let me show you the images of these three capacitors here. So here you can see that these are the three types of capacitors. So the first one is a parallel plate capacitor. So generally you can see that in a parallel plate capacitor there are generally two plates, and in this diagram you can clearly see that the two plates are circular in shape, which are placed at some separation d. Now these plates can be rectangular also, they can be of any shape. Okay, so here in this diagram these two plates are circular in shape and they are kept at some separation from each other. So this is a parallel plate case. So that means, so now you got the hint what is a parallel plate case. So a parallel plate capacitor consists of two plates which are kept parallel to each other at some separation. So this is the geometry of a parallel plate capacitor. Now looking at the spherical capacitor, so a spherical capacitor consists of two concentric spheres. So there are two spheres in a spherical capacitor and both are concentric, that means the center is same. So this is the one sphere and this is the another sphere. So what does it do? It stores energy in this region. Between both the concentric spheres, the electrical energy is stored. Okay. Similarly, in the parallel plate capacitor, the energy is stored between the plates. Okay, we will discuss it in detail later. But what, in order to give the idea that how a capacitor stores energy and to visualize it, you can see that in a parallel plate capacitor, energy is stored between the plates. In spherical capacitor, the energy is stored or the electric field is there between both the concentric spheres. And moving to the cylindrical capacitor, so cylindrical capacitor consists of two concentric cylinders. That means there are two concentric cylinders, that is there is a outer cylinder and there is a inner cylinder inside it, and the energy is stored in between these cylinders. You can see in the diagram that the energy here is stored in between both the cylinders. So now you got the hint how they look and how they store the energy. So therefore, in order to make a capacitor, we need a confined region in which we can store the energy, in which we can store the electrical energy. Okay, so what will happen if this region is not confined? Suppose in place of two spheres in a spherical capacitor, we just take one sphere and give it the charge. What will happen to it? Similarly, in a parallel plate capacitor, if we take only one plate, what will happen? So why two plates, two cells, two cylinders are there in each capacitor? That means there are two in pairs. So let me explain this to you, why we need two of them. Suppose if we have a single sphere, now if I give it some charge, let's say I have given it some charge Q. Now what will happen if I draw the electric field here, okay, because electric field is the electrical energy, and if I draw it, we all know that the electric field starts from positive charge, and if there is negative charge, it ends in negative charge. But since here there is no negative charge, these electric field lines are going to end at infinity. Okay, so now we can clearly see that whatever the energy is radiating from this isolated sphere, it is going till infinity. That means the whole energy is getting distributed in a very large area. Okay, so now this energy is not useful for us because it is spread over a very large area. So hence we use two cells so that we can confine this whole energy in between a small region. Okay, so that we can concentrate it in a small region for the better application. Okay, it is just similar to the water. Suppose if you have a bucket of water, so you can use that bucket of water whenever you need, but if you throw that bucket of water on the ground, you can't use it. Now it is just spread everywhere. So it is similar here. The spread electric field, you can't utilize it, so you have to store it, you have to confine it in a confined region. Okay, so now you got the hint why we need two plates, two spherical, two sphere, two cylinders. Okay, just to confine the electric field between the plates. So the types is over. So there are three types: parallel, spherical and cylindrical capacitors. Now moving ahead, so the next mechanism is how a capacitor stores energy. So generally a capacitor stores energy. We give charge to the capacitor, and when it stores charge, automatically electric field is generated and it gets stored between the plates. Okay, so now there is a term related to the capacitor, so let's define it, the capacitance. Okay, so what is a capacitance of a capacitor? So capacitance is the ability of a conductor or capacitor to store charge per unit voltage. Okay, that means generally a capacitance tells the quality of a capacitor. Suppose there are two capacitors, okay? So one capacitor having greater capacitance and other is having lesser capacitance. So the capacitor having greater capacitance will store more charge per unit voltage as compared to having the lesser capacitance. Clear? So capacitance gives the idea about that how much charge a capacitor can store in it. That means how much energy a capacitor can store in it, okay? Now, so capacitance is the ability of a conductor to store charge per unit voltage. So mathematically this can be written as, so I have denoted the capacitance with symbol C here. So C equals to Q by V. That means charge per unit voltage. So this is the formula of the capacitance of a capacitor. That capacitance is the ratio of charge and voltage, or it is the charge stored per unit voltage or per unit potential difference. Okay. So now if you see properly, this formula is similar to the formula of resistance. Here we have studied that the formula of resistance is V upon I. So the formula of capacitance is similar to the formula of the resistance, and both are two different devices. We have studied about resistors, okay? They dissipate energy. Similarly, a capacitor is a device which stores energy. These are two different devices. So here we are studying about the capacitors. We will study about the resistor in our next chapter. Now, so what is the unit of capacitance? So if we put the SI unit of charge, that is coulomb, and SI unit of voltage, that is volt, we'll get the SI unit of the capacitance as coulomb per volt. Now, this coulomb per volt is also known as farad. Okay? So 1 coulomb per volt is equals to 1 farad, and capital F is used for denoting the symbol, denoting symbol for the farad. So 1 farad is equals to 1 coulomb per volt. So the SI unit of capacitance is farad. Now the next term is, so let's first draw a graph between charge and voltage. So suppose a charge versus voltage graph is given for a conductor. So how we find out the capacitance of that conductor? So since we know that the capacitance is the ratio of charge or voltage, and we know that when some quantity is the ratio of two other quantities, then that quantity is given by the slope of the graph. So hence when charge voltage graph is given, we can find the capacitance by using the slope. So let's take an example on this. So here the charge versus voltage graph is given for two different capacitors. One is green capacitor C1 and other is C2. So you have to tell which capacitor is having greater capacitance. Okay, so now if you see properly, that C1 is having lesser slope and C2 is having greater slope as compared to C1. So clearly C2 is greater than C1. Simple. Which means that C2 will store more charge per unit voltage as compared to C1. That means C2 is a better capacitor. Okay. Now coming to the next point, and this is very important, that what are the factors affecting the capacitance of a capacitor? That means what are the factors which governs the capacitance? So most of you will say that, sir, since formula of capacitance is Q by V, so C depends on Q and V. But this is wrong. This is similar that the formula of R is V by I, but resistance doesn't depends on voltage and current. Resistance is the property of geometry and the material. Similarly, the capacitance does not depends on charge and it neither depends on voltage. It is the property of material and the geometry of the capacitor. Okay, so it will help you remember that C and R both have same correlation. So you should remember it, okay, that the capacitance does not depends on neither the charge on the capacitor nor the voltage. it depends on the geometry of the conductor or capacitor. That means the capacitance of a conductor or capacitor depends on its geometry, that is, it depends on its shape and size. And another factor on which the capacitance depends is the medium. That means what medium we are using in between the plates. That means in parallel plate capacitor, what is the medium between the plates? So what medium we are filling in the region between the plates, that is the another factor. So there are two factors on which the capacitance of a capacitor depends. One is the geometry of the capacitor or conductor, and another is the medium. Capacitance does not depends on charge and voltage, I have told you earlier. So you make this point clear to you that C does not depends on Q and V. So this is very important. Okay, now coming to the symbol of capacitance which we will use in our circuit diagram. So what is the circuit symbol? So generally, in order to show a parallel plate capacitor, we will show its two plate by two parallel lines, and these are the connecting wires. So this is the symbol of, this is the circuit diagram of, or circuit symbol of a parallel plate capacitor. Okay, so just like the circuit symbol of a resistor is this zigzag path, similarly the circuit symbol of capacitor are two parallel lines connecting with a wire. Now coming to the next point. Now, so we know that what is capacitance, what is the importance of a capacitor, what factors it depends. Now how to find the formula of capacitance of a given capacitor? That means, suppose if we are asked that this capacitor or conductor is given to you, find out the expression for its capacitance. So how do you find it? So there is a procedure I have made in order to find the capacitance of any type of capacitor. So let me explain that procedure to you. To suppose, so the whole procedure is of 4 steps. The first step of the procedure is, so clearly we know that in order to store energy in a capacitor, we have to give it some charge. Okay, now the question rises, how do we give the charge? So of course we need a battery to give the charge to the capacitor, because battery is a source of charge, it sends charge to the capacitor. So the first step is give charge to the conductor or capacitor. Now again and again I am using the word conductor for the capacitor. So we all know that all the capacitors are conductors basically. So both are the synonyms. Okay, so don't get confused. Conductor or capacitor, both are the same thing here. Now the first step in the calculation of the capacitance of a given capacitor is give it some charge. So assumes some charge is given to the capacitor. Now when the charge is stored in the capacitor or charge is given to the capacitor, so what will happen? An electric field will come. So the next step is calculate the electric field. It is not a mandatory step. You can directly come to the third step without going to the second step. Let me show you why this is so. We see the formula of capacitance is Q by V. So in order to calculate CV, we need V. So the first step gives us the Q, that we have assumed some charge is given to the capacitor. Now the next step is we have to find the V. That is required. Electric field is not required. But what happens? We directly don't know the formula of potential. Generally we know the formula of electric field. So hence in the second step I have given that calculate the electric field. But if somehow you know directly the formula of the voltage, then there is no requirement of electric field in that case. Okay, so I will explain this with the help of an example later on. So just keep it in mind that we need voltage only. So if somehow you know the formula of voltage directly, you can directly use it. No need for the electric field. Okay, now so the second step is the calculation of electric field. That means calculate the electric field. Now the third step is, once we know the electric field, expression for electric field, we know how to calculate the potential. It is very simple. We know how to calculate the potential once we know the electric field. Let me show you how. See, we have studied earlier the relation between electric field and the potential. There are two relations. So for a uniform field, what is the formula? E equals to V by D. So we will using this expression. We know E, we know D, then we can easily calculate the potential difference. So this is one formula. And suppose if the electric field is not uniform, then we will use this formula. E equals to minus dV by dr. So this is the another formula that we will use when the electric field is non-uniform. So there are two formulas for the calculation of potential difference. For uniform field, we can use this formula. For a non-uniform electric field, we can use this formula. Okay. So the third step is calculate potential difference by using both. Now, after calculating V, put the value of V obtained in this formula and get the final expression of C. So see, the whole procedure for the calculation of capacitance is so simple. Give the charge to the capacitor and find out V. Put the value of V in this expression and get the capacitance of that conductor. Okay. So very simple procedure it is. You can easily find out the capacitance of any capacitor using this simple procedure. So let me explain this with the help of an example. Okay. So let's find out the capacitance of an isolated sphere. Okay. So now I'm going to find out the capacitance of a single sphere. That means what is its capacitance. Okay. So let's consider this sphere is given of radius r, which is kept in vacuum. Okay. Because medium is important, hence we always say the medium in which the capacitor or the conductor is placed. Now we are asked find the capacitance of this capacitor. This is the question, that a spherical cell or a sphere conductor, solid sphere, it can be anything, of radius r kept in a vacuum, find out its capacitance. Question is clear? Now coming to the solution part. So let's move to the first part. So in first part, what we have to do? We have to assume some charge. So I have assumed that let a charge Q is given to the conductor. Now whenever we give charge to a conductor, it uniformly get distributed over its surface. We know that there is no charge inside a conductor. So here the charge is distributed over the surface of this conductor. Okay. So first step is over. Now we know the formula of electric field due to a spherical cell. Outside, inside, we have derived it in the Gauss theorem. And we have also determined the formula of potential for the case of a conductor. So since we know the formula of potential directly due to a conductor, hence we are going to directly use the potential formula here. So since we know that at the surface of a conductor, the potential is given by kq by r, where k is the Coulomb's constant. Here the k is not dielectric constant. Okay. Here in this formula, k is Coulomb's constant. So this is the formula of potential at the surface of this sphere. Now, so the next step is, so here we do not need to go to the second step, that we need to calculate electric field, because it is an intermediate step. Ultimately, we have to find V. If we directly know the V, use it directly. Okay. So now what is the next step? Yes, put this value of V in the expression of capacitance, kq by r. Solve this. Put the value of Coulomb constant 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught here and get the final expression. So this is the final expression of capacitance due to a single isolated sphere, 4 pi epsilon naught r. Remember this formula because it is directly used for the questions. So if you look properly at this formula obtained of the capacitance, you can clearly come to the conclusion that the C depends on two factors here. One is R and other is epsilon. Okay. So C is proportional to R and C depends on epsilon naught or epsilon. And clearly the R is the geometric property of the conductor or the sphere, and epsilon is the property of the medium in which the conductor is placed. So now we have proved here the capacitance of a spherical capacitor, a spherical conductor, depends on its geometry and the medium in which it is placed. Capacitance does not depend on the charge or voltage. It depends only on the geometry of the conductor and the medium. So it is clear to you? Okay. So this is the capacitance formula for a single isolated sphere. Now suppose if this conductor is placed in a medium of dielectric constant K. Okay. So in place of vacuum we have taken that sphere and we have now placed it in a medium and whose dielectric constant is K. Now what will happen to its capacitance? Okay. So now we know that if we use the same derivation, okay, no need to do the same derivation, use it a shortcut. If whenever we use a medium, you just have to replace epsilon naught with epsilon in all the formulas you have remembered. So whatever the formula you have remembered earlier, you can directly use it. So wherever there is epsilon naught, you can replace it with epsilon. Okay. So earlier we have derived C equals to 4 pi epsilon naught R for vacuum. So for a medium, we will replace that epsilon naught with epsilon. So here in place of epsilon naught we have placed epsilon. You can use it everywhere, anywhere. No need to do the same derivation again. You just replace epsilon naught from the epsilon whenever there is a medium. Now, since we know that the dielectric constant K is defined as the ratio of epsilon and epsilon naught, so from here we can say that epsilon is K times epsilon naught. Put the value of epsilon here. So after putting the value of epsilon there, we can clearly see that, so this is K epsilon, take K outside. Now what is this term, 4 pi epsilon naught? Yes, this is the capacitance of that capacitor in vacuum. Let me denote it with C naught. So finally what do we conclude? That the capacitance of a capacitor in a medium of dielectric constant K is K times the capacitance in the vacuum. That means suppose if our capacitor has a capacitance of 10 farad in vacuum, and if we place it in a medium whose dielectric constant is, let's say, 2, then its capacitance will become 20 farad. That means capacitance increases K times. This is a very important result. Okay. So suppose if we want to make a capacitor, so what do you prefer between the plates, a vacuum or some medium? Of course you want greater capacitance so that your device can store large amount of charge or electric field inside it. So this is what is done practically. Whenever we made a capacitor, generally some dielectric is inserted between the plates. And what is the importance of dielectric? One importance you have seen here, that whenever we inserted dielectric, it increases the capacitance K times. Greater is the dielectric constant, greater will be the capacitance. Clear? So this is a very important result and this is used practically. Let me show you. Okay, I will show you later in the later videos the dielectric diagram. Okay, so this is an important result. So the capacitance increases K times whenever we inserted dielectric, whenever we place it in a medium of dielectric constant K. Okay, so that's all for this video. In the next video I will explain more about the parallel plate capacitor.